Hi there, my name is Hannah Amputer, and as you can see from the instruments around me, I am a harpist. You may have come here because you found my website or because you are on my YouTube channel. Either way, most of what I do, videos included, is focus on the performance sphere. And, I do a lot of both the classical canon harp works and transcriptions of orchestral works for harp and new branches composed for harp like jazz and world music. But I also do a lot of transcriptions of modern music like John Legend, Christina Perry. There's even some jazz, some western, some big band in that. So the harp is an extremely versatile instrument, and I got to thinking that for all that the harp has to offer, there's actually not a whole lot of information out there about it for people who are interested in starting the harp. So that's why I got to thinking, let's look at the other side of the spectrum today, the teaching spectrum, the how do I do this for myself? Because let's face it, we're a little bit rare of a breed than your average violinist or friendly piano neighborhood teacher. So I have here 6 harps, and they pretty well span the range of current modern harps. There are a couple models of harps that I'll discuss that are not viewed as historical, and while they can certainly be beautiful instruments, they're no longer generally taught today. So this is the range. The 6 harp is right here in the corner, and we'll get to that. Before we jump in, I want to say a quick disclaimer that as with food, instruments range the entire gamut of personalities and flavors and sounds. Some people really like spicy, some people really like mild, some people like sweet and sour and salty. I personally have a sweet tooth. So I'm going to be using words to describe these harps that may sound negative or may sound positive. It may sound like I'm favoring one harp over another. I officially want to say that is not the case. There may be a sound that you particularly love, or a sound that really speaks to you of what you think of when you think of the harp. And you know what? Go for it. I'm just going to be trying to explain what I hear with the various descriptions that I think that I can have. So, without further ado, the first harp that we're going to start with is by the maker called a Fireside Harp. And as you can see, this is one of the smaller harps that we have, and I think it's here that I'm actually going to start discussing how to actually play the harp. You may be able to hear against my hands, against my third finger here, there's a red string, and all the red strings are C's, and all the black strings, blue or black strings here, are F's. And so it's kind of like your classic Sound of Music, do a deer, a female deer, that whole thing.
Do, a deer, a female deer, red, a drop of golden sun.
Instead of do, re, mi, it's ABC. It's exactly the same thing, it's just a different word of calling it, like red versus crimson. So these Fireside harps have about 3 octaves in them, 3 and a little bit. And they are very good starter harps for sure. I'm going to bring my bench around so I can actually play this for you, and you can get an idea of context. So, as you can see, this harp is actually quite tiny. It has a cardboard soundboard here that you can get in various colors. And something to note is that they don't have levers. These 4 harps do have levers. It just means that this harp won't be able to do some of the types of music that these harps will be able to do. So, just so you know. Here's what it sounds like. Strings at the top there. So as you can hear, it definitely has a very rustic sound to it. I believe that there are several other models of harps on the Fireside brand's websites. You can retroactively fit these with levers, but their base model is in the neighborhood of $200 without the levers. I think it's something like $16 per lever. And it definitely has quite a bit of a punch for something that has a cardboard harp. It does sound very wiry. It sounds almost like a guitar. So if that's the type of sound that you want, then this is, a very good beginner's harp. It's definitely something that you could play on for hymns and Irish tunes. And I guess to that effect, I'll show you a little bit of the range of it by playing a song that most of you will probably know. So, that was the Hobbit theme from Lord of the Rings. So you can hear that you can definitely play actual songs on this. And it's quite a plucky little thing, pun intended. It's, probably about 3 pounds, if that. It's very light. So, this is the Fireside Harp. The next harp that I'm going to show you is by the maker called Dusty Strings, and no, their harps are not dusty. They have several different models, and they can come in various finishes and nylon strings versus gut strings. You can get them in different colors. This particular harp, I'm actually going to turn the camera because apparently you can't see that well. There we go. This particular harp is the Dusty Strings Allegro, and it has 26 strings on it. And this harp has levers, one for each string, and they're color-coded, so the red levers line up with the red strings and all that. And the reason that you have levers is that, just as on the piano, you have black keys that are kind of the in-between notes for the white keys. They're the sharps, the flats, the accidentals. So you can have like a C sharp, a C flat. And these in-between pitches are kind of like rubber bands, right? Or if you pull a rubber band, you make the band tighter, so the pitch goes up. And if you loosen it, the pitch goes down. Levers do the exact same thing. So for instance, this is a red string, a C string. And to pull the lever up, it shortens the string by half step. So this becomes... And what this means is that you're suddenly able to play a whole nother collection of songs that either have these in-between pitches in them or are written in a different key, a different collection of pitches to begin with. Whereas for this little Fireside harp, in order to play different pieces, you would need to retune the strings each and every time, which can get a little bit tedious and shorten string life and all of that. So, this is the Allegro, and here's what it sounds like. In some ways very much like this Fireside harp. It has what I would call a medieval sound to it. It kind of sounds a little bit metallic, a little bit twangy like medieval instruments would have. It has that kind of wire-ish sound to it. And as a immediate comparison, here's the Fireside harp again. So hopefully that difference came across. So what I'm going to do now is, for this harp and all the other harps, I'm going to be playing for you a song by Christina Tourin called The White Rose. So you'll be able to hear the range and the pitches, and at the end I will do a full sweep from top to bottom. So here's White Rose. Which of course I could modify to play on the song, but as you may have seen towards the top here, I have run out of strings. So this is also a fantastic harp. I currently have a 9-year-old playing this harp, and she is happy as a clam. So I would say with someone who had consistent practice every week and took lessons every week, they could probably use the Fireside Harp from ages 4 till maybe 5, 5.5. Depending on the rate of progress, and this will probably do happily from anyone around 7 years old and up. So this next harp is a harp that is actually no longer made. It is the Lyon Healy folk harp, and Lyon Healy is they're primarily known for their pedal harps, but as you can see, they definitely have lever harps. And Lyon Healy has a showroom in San Francisco and in Chicago, I believe. And this harp is a 34-string compared to this one, which is a 26. This harp I actually got relatively recently, and it is about 17 years old, whereas this one is kind of mid-2000s. So they're pretty similar in age. But the main difference is, number one, it's a different maker, Dusty Strings versus Lyon Healy. But as you can see, there's also a bigger soundboard here. And the bigger soundboard, if you think of a bullfrog and all those glorious sounds, a bigger soundboard, a bigger vibrating chamber means more sound. The previous owner has said that these are nylon strings, and I will believe her. So, here is the Lyon Healy folk harp. Than this, actually. This is starting to get warmer. You're starting to get a little bit more into that closer to the voice type collection of sounds and timbres rather than the guitar and the lute, the metal strings. So I'm going to play the first half of White Rose on this so you can have a comparison. So again, that's the first half. And as you can see, this harp does come with a painted soundboard. A lot of harps do come with painted soundboards, some don't. As you can see from these fine fellows, you can purchase soundboard decals, like I have on this harp here from the website harpdecals.com, and they're just vinyl stickers, so you can add decoration, make it look like you, so no worries on that front. The way that I would describe these two sounds as a direct comparison. This definitely has a warmer, fleshy like sound to it. To my ears, it still sounds a little bit muffled, a little bit inclusive. So that is why in the next generation of the folk harp, we have the Lyon Healy Ogden. And they have made some significant structural improvements to it. I'm going to move these out so you can see a little bit better what they look like in profile. Hi. Actually, one thing before we quickly leave the land of these smaller harps is that I wanted to officially say that the Fireside Harp has 22 strings as opposed to this 26 string, and this one is actually significantly smaller than it looks because it has legs on it, and these legs can come in different heights. It's easy to screw them or unscrew them. So if you are interested in the sound of this, but say you have a 4-year-old or 6-year-old in mind, don't worry, this will fit them. It just can go quite a bit taller depending on the bottoms that it has. So these next two harps are cousins, and this is the, as I said, the Lyon Healy Folk, and this is the Lyon Healy Ogden. This is the current version, and just as Apple does and all that, they've updated some things. The first thing is that the folk harp is strung in nylon. It could be strung up. This one is strung in nylon for the purposes of the soundscape, and nylon tends to have, as you've heard with these other three harps, nylon tends to have more of a guitar-like sound to it. It's not quite as warm or as close as the human voice as it could be. These three harps all have gut strings, and you can definitely hear the difference in this one when you hear it. As far as some of the changes have been aesthetic. Like you'll notice that this one has a narrowing of the column as it goes down. This one is pretty stable. The curve in the neck is a little bit different on this one, a little bit sharper. This one, the folk harp in the back has a square background, a square back to it. This one has a round back to it. So most of these are aesthetic. The big thing, though, is that there are different types of strings, as I said, and that this one is bigger, large, both in terms of its own size, and in terms of the soundboard size. This one has 4-inch legs, this one does not. So what I mean by nylon and gut is that nylon is made out of, nylon. I did everything from stockings to you name it. So the gut strings, though, aren't actually made out of human guts, don't worry. They are made out of cow guts or sheep's guts. Shakespeare actually said in the play Much Ado About Nothing, how strange is it that sheep's guts should hale souls out of men's bodies? And to that he was, describing the harp, saying, well, how odd it is that these, very earthly things can have such a magical sound to it. And I will play, as I said, a full comparison across the line, but you can start to hear in this one especially how there is this warmth and this depth to it that you haven't been able to hear quite as much in the other harps. So here's the Lyon Healy Ogden. a super quick comparison, here's the folk compared to. So there's almost like this velvety quality, you know? What do you think? Feel free to type in comments below. Otherwise, these are very similar. So to give a little impression of white rose on this one. Ogden and the folk. 34 string instruments. This is the current version. Good luck finding another one like this. Can decorate these current plain sound boards with your own decals. So, to move on to the next harp, it is, again, slightly bigger. Not by a huge quantity. This is a 38 string harp, and it is by the French harp maker Camac, C-A-M-A-C, and the model name is the Korrigan, which I believe is Irish for fairy, so I think it has kind of a sprightly appearance to it. So, this also, all of these guys have, including that one, have levers. This one started off with plastic levers. These two are metal levers. Something special about Camac harps is that actually very frequently the company's begun to use carbon fiber in them and different technology on the inside. So both Lyon Healy and Camac are definitely companies that are constantly working to improve the science of making sounds and exploring new materials, and it's really all quite fun. So here is the Camac as a sounds comparison. I don't know if you can hear it from here, but this thing has a wallop of sound to it. And it is, again, because it has a bigger soundboard, which helps to support a bigger structure with more strings to it. Something also that's special about these three harps that you can really start to feel with this one is that they are something that's called pedal tension instruments, which means that they are at the same string tension as this pedal harp over here. The others, the Allegro, and if it had levers, the Fireside Harp, are lever harp tension. So that's, again, neither good nor bad. It means that with lever harp tension, the strings are a little bit easier to pluck. You won't find gut strings on lever harps most of the time. They will almost always be nylon. And it allows for a lot more quick and repetitious notes, like with Irish music, where you hear, for example, the song The Butterfly. Go look it up. But it has a lot of repeated notes to it. That's a little bit difficult to do at higher tension because there's a lot more force required in order to pluck the string. Again, not really a huge limitation. I think it's kind of even as far as a trade-off because you get more volume with more strings. You get to be able to play more advanced music that has a wider range of sound to it. So, which brings us back to the current topic. So here's the Ogden, and its very, very close cousin, the Camac. So, very similar sounds. This one is a tiny bit louder. I would also describe this one as having a little bit more of a warmth and rich to it. Whereas the Korrigan has a little bit more of like a hollow, mountainy sound. So this one definitely has a gentleness to it, and this one has a little bit more of a robust, I don't know, how would I describe it? It has a little bit more of a robust, almost masculinity in a very good way to it. It's not nearly as pretty. It has an authority to it. So here's the Camac Corgan, and that brings me to the transition between these guys. 38 strings. This one has 46. It is called a concert harp. If it had 47, it would be called a concert grand. That's basically the only difference. There are a couple other minor differences, but that's the only one that's really important. This imaginary space here represents the divide between lever harps and pedal harps. With lever harps, you still need to change one lever at a time to change the pitch of the string. Whereas with a pedal harp, you can change the 7 pedals at the bottom here. So, for example, and then with the pedal harp, you can get one further change. And you can do that for any of the 7 strings. 7 different note names of the strings across the board. So, you can get one model of lever harp that's about yay high. It's called the Lyon Healy Prelude, and that has 40 strings, so 2 more than this, very, very close cousin. But it is shaped like the pedal harp, as opposed to these lever harp shapes, which are more, the Irish back of the coin type silhouette. However, it's still a lever harp, and you can also get a smaller pedal harp that's a 40 string, a 42 string, and they're still shaped like a pedal harp, but they're smaller. So again, if budget is a concern, or if you have a smaller student who really is ready for a pedal harp, this can help. This invisible model here can help to bridge the gap. But most of the time, I would say that by the time you're ready for this, you would be able to do this in terms of height. This also represents a huge jump in price. For the Fireside Harps, which I mentioned, were in the neighborhood of $200 without the levers. You get the Allegros and the Dusty Strings models, and those start new around $2,600, I believe, and go up to $5,500. These guys, I believe this one, the market price was between $2,600 and $3,000. These guys are $4,500 for, this one is $4,500 for gut. I believe the Camac was a very similar price range, a little bit more than that. It depends on the store. It depends on whether you're buying it from a private owner or not. It depends whether you buy it used. It depends on the age, but these are just general ballpark numbers. Pedal harps, on the other hand, new, start at around $15,000 to $18,000. So you're making a jump from, a very, very nice vacation to a car. So you can rent these instruments, of course, and a lot of official companies will do a rent-to-own program or a trade-in program, so you can start off on one of these and trade up. So once you've recovered from your heart attack. This is by yet another harp maker called Venus, and Venus is based in Chicago. They're a relatively small family-owned company, and they have absolutely beautiful harps in terms of the decorations. This is their premier model, and it is one of the most simple ones. Really, if you're looking for rosettes and things like that, almost all of Venus's harps have those. And so basically, there are 3 major pedal harp makers in the U.S. Of course, there are more in Europe and in the East. And Venus is one of them. Lyon Healy of those two fame is another. And Salvi, who's based in Italy, is another one that's still very, very present in the U.S. So this is the Venus harp, and I will get the pedals into the same configuration that I played White Rose in so you can hear the difference. So, as a refresher, here's the Korrigan. And here's my Venus Premiere. So, quite a larger range of different sound, and here's where you can get the most different sampling from the Fireside Harp to this. This is just a completely different sound. And this is the type of harp that you will see most of the time in orchestras. This harp is capable of the largest shifts in genre, shifts in pitch collections and styles and all that. So this is, if you want to be a professional harpist playing with the New York Philharmonic, this is the type of instrument that you would eventually work up to. It definitely has pedal tension, obviously. The way it works with the pedals is that, like the levers, it's still your basic, simple string tightening and string loosening concept, except each of these pedals down here are attached to rods that crisscross in the base, travel up the inside of the column and over and through the neck here. And so when I push the pedal down, it operates the string tightening or loosening mechanism for me, leaving my hands free, ergo why I can do more things on it. So I'll play a little bit of White Rose for you on this one. Actually, I'll play the entire thing first so you can hear what it sounds like across the range. There we go. I would also like to add that for particularly the strings that are strung with gut, you'll get wire strings in the bass, and you'll see this the most clearly on the pedal harps, but the bass strings are really, in tandem with the soundboard and the sound box would help to give the harp its power, its volume. The wire strings are a little bit different than guitar strings. There's a wire core, which is then wrapped around with like a flaxseed cotton type of material, and then spiraled around with a very, very thin wire. So they're a little bit thicker than guitar strings. Yes, you do have to get calluses, but they're very gradual. So, if you're an athlete or a gymnast or a dancer, they're similar to those types of calluses. So you have heard now what's essentially a Celtic harp across all these, Celtic song across all these different types of harps. And this harp is capable of a lot more, as I've been saying, than just Celtic tunes. For instance, by pushing the B pedal down to give me a B sharp, it produces the same equivalent pitch as a C string. And by doing the same thing, going from E natural to E sharp, it's the same as an F. So what this means is that when I do what's called a glissando, which is Italian, the Romance languages for to skate or to slide, like an ice skate, I can get the typical Disney fairy princess sound. A little bit enthusiastic there, I like doing that. You can also be able to play a lot of new genres like jazz pieces, like. So, with that technique, just to throw in what it actually sounds like, I got out a little sampling of one of my favorite jazz pieces for harp. It's called Duke, after Duke Ellington, and it's by composer Bernard Andres. And here's just a little bit of an intro before I get into the middle piece so you can hear what it sounds like. And of musical techniques that you can do on the pedal harp that are a lot more difficult to do on the lever harp. So, two very different classes of instruments. This is mostly, the first pedal harp was patented in 1810, so this is mostly the big age of orchestras, and these are more the lines of folk harp and folk instruments and Celtic music. So, alright, did a little bit of rearranging for the grand finale, which is playing all of these harps more or less in a row, so you can really get a direct sound comparison now that you know what to listen for and what's the harp versus the classic harp. So here is the Fireside Harp. Remember, it is made out of nylon strings. It has a cardboard soundboard. All the rest of these are wood of some type or other. So here's the Fireside. Moving on to the Dusty Strings Allegro. Sit. Moving on to the Lyon Healy Folk Harp. Moving on to its newer Lyon Healy Ogden. Moving on to the Camac Corgan. Moving on to the Venus Premier. So, here you have my harp family. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully it's been educational, and thank you for listening to my rambling. I tend to do that. I hope to see you around either on my YouTube channel or website, or if you're interested in taking harp lessons. Like I said, probably anywhere from age 4 to 94, 96 even. So give me an email or comment, and I look forward to hearing from you.